Always late to the dance. So has anything went on? Yes, I am late to the show, but all of you know what is going on. This will basically just be my thoughts on it for what it's worth. And before we get started, I just want to thank people again, the ones that have commented. Three in particular right now that I want to shout out. Truth_Thong. I like that one. Truth_Thong. Dan Davenport, H3S. And of course, our very own Jeff Kelb, 5383. Jeff always hollering at me and feeding me information, and I appreciate you, Jeff. But wanted to give a quick shout out. Thank you guys so much for the comments. I appreciate it. I've said it before. I'll say it again. The comments mean more to me than anything, to be honest. I like the comments. Whether I comment back, a lot of times people are just making statements. And if it's more of a statement and I don't really have a rebuttal or I don't really have anything to say on the matter, then I just give you a like and move on, because it's one of those, hey, I can't say it any better. You're right. You know, basically, if you don't get a comment from me, then pretty much I agree with you for the most part. But that being said, we will get into the Tua benching and the beginning of Quinn Ewers. And welcome to Finn's Temporal Focus. Yeah, so what we have talked about after the Steelers' loss is a reality, and the Dolphins, I think, done it the right way. Tua Tagovailoa is benched. He has been dropped to third string, emergency quarterback only, and Quinn Ewers is going to be your starter probably the rest of the way. Of course, Zach Wilson, not happy, $6 million, but he's going to be gone after this year anyway. But we know what Zach Wilson is. We don't know what Quinn Ewers is. And it's a time to really find out. Not preseason, not going against college kids and backups, but in real game situations. So I'm actually excited about that. Do I think he's going to come out and be a all-world beater? No, I don't. He's a 7th round pick. So I think there's going to be growing pains in these next 3 games. Now, for the people that is wanting the Dolphins to lose to get a better draft pick, which you already know how I feel about that. Again, doesn't matter where you pick, it matters who you pick. I think it's a good situation for the people that want the Dolphins to lose to get a better draft pick. However, there's always that chance that we know let's be real. He can scramble better than Tua, and he has a stronger arm than Tua. Tua is probably knows the offense better. Obviously, he's been in it for 4 years. Well, no, 5 years, I guess. 4 years, yeah. Obviously, more accurate than probably yours will be, especially the early going. But we get to see what he can do in this offense. And the thing I really want to look at with Quinn Ewers is his 2023 season. 69% completion percentage, 3,479 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 6 picks. That was the season he really kind of found his own. And 2024, it stayed pretty level other than the turnovers. 65.8% completion percentage in 24, 3,772 yards, 31 touchdowns, doubled the interceptions, went from 6 to 12. This is in college. So let's not be crazy. But with everything that is going on, now I will have my video up later about the preview of the Cincinnati game. I think a lot of people may be shut down for this game. There's people you've already heard me say that I think should be shut down for the rest of the season. Aaron Brewer being one of them. Jackson may sit. So Quinn Ewers is going to be probably not going behind a solid offensive line. Of course, neither did Tua. It's not been a solid offensive line all year. But this offensive line has played better, especially since Mike McDaniel started running the football, which Mike McDaniel did not do against Pittsburgh. Same old, abandoned the run, and Tua's just not that guy. And it's hard for me because I am a Tua supporter. Now, I'm also, when I come on here, things that he did that was stupid, I would definitely point them out. I also didn't think he was the worst quarterback in Dolphins history. If you think that, then you obviously have not seen a lot of quarterbacks in Dolphins history. But he was limited, and I didn't like that coming out of college. I always knew he was limited. His injury, the hip injury, really bothered me. Of course, the concussions once he got into the NFL, obviously an issue as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm a Dan Marino guy. I love the big quarterback with the big arm. Who doesn't? I know a lot of people have went more to mobile quarterbacks. I still like a pocket quarterback who's going to sit in there and thread the needle. That's just my personal preference. That's why I did like Justin Herbert coming out of the draft. But I was a supporter of Tua in the sense of I didn't think he was as bad as a lot of people felt like he was. I also didn't feel like he was as good as a lot of people felt that he was. But this particular season, horrible. The Tua experiment is over. And this is not going to be the beginning of the Quinn Ewers era. But I think the Dolphins done a smart thing in foregoing Zach Wilson and going with Quinn Ewers. Because like I said, you know what you have in Zach Wilson. Plus, he's not going to be here. They're not going to bring him back, I don't think. And Quinn Ewers is going to be here. They just need to figure out, hey, do we have a diamond in the rough? Or do we have a solid backup quarterback? Or is it also someone we need to move on from? So for me, I think this is a great call by the Dolphins. I know it came down from the front end. Mike McDaniel talking about making the hard decisions, and of course made the statement about everything was on the table about benching Tua before the benching. And then, of course, the actual benching itself. Obviously, that came down from the top because Mike McDaniel has no real authority as a head coach. At least that's the way it looks as far as the decision making. And he may have wanted to move on from Tua, but he's linked to Tua. He's always going to be linked to Tua, at least for the next little bit. even if Tua's gone. It's still, that's why he was brought to Miami, is to fix Tua. And I've said it before. I don't know what happened to Tua, but he has regressed horribly. And a lot of people will say, no, he didn't regress. He was always this bad. No, he wasn't. He just wasn't. If you believe that, you're just not watching the games and you don't understand the games. Because not this bad he has not been. I mean, this was a really bad season. He hasn't had a good game this season. Now, he's had some okay games against the Falcons. He had a good game against the second game against the Bills. It was an okay game. But he hasn't had anything that made you go, there's the Tua that, of 2023. And 2023 is long gone. And I know a lot of people come out and they're like, well, Tyreek Hill's gone and that was the difference. And Tua, no, because Tua was having these problems when Tyreek Hill was here. And not only that, Tua put up decent numbers in games that Tyreek Hill missed. So don't get me wrong. Tyreek is a bad man, and I understand that. But this has nothing to do with Tyreek Hill not being here. This is a Tua thing. He is making poor decisions, and it's just time. It's time to move on. I know a lot of people are worried about cap. We're going to be hit with $90 million, and we're not going to be able to trade him. And to me, you either do what Denver, which I know a lot of people have already said, you do what Denver done. You just cut him, cut your losses, and lose the money, and build your team that way. But you don't know who's coming in at head coach, or if they're running this back and they're going to give Mike McDaniel one more year. I don't know how I feel about it anymore. I still personally, you start 2-6 consecutive years, I just don't think you recover from that. So yeah, for me personally, and to me, Mike McDaniel is still making the same mistakes now as he was 3 years ago. And 3 years ago, I would have been like, you give him a pass. This is his first run. He's going to get it. He's going to be better. But it's still the same mistakes. Now we find out, is it because of the limited ability in his quarterback? Or is it his ability, which we know he can call plays? But a lot of the play calling is questionable. It's like if you've got more than 10 yards to go, around third downish, then you're just going to call it quits because you feel like you can't get there. And that makes no sense because that doesn't fall on Tua, because we know Tua can get the ball 10 yards. Say what you want about his arm strength. That's the things that I don't understand, is the whole bubble screen after bubble screen after bubble screen, timeouts that don't need to be called, too many men on the field. These all fall on the head coach, and we're still doing them. Delay of games, we can't get the play call in. Then in the Pittsburgh game, he comes out and says, we have to run huddle. We can't do no huddle because I wish I could get the quote right, because I know some people are going to come at me, and that's okay, because this is not verbatim, but basically they wouldn't be able to run the play in a no huddle. Is that Tua? Is that just his play calling? He has to have everybody in the huddle. I don't know. That was just a weird explanation of why they did not run a no huddle. So I don't know. I don't understand that. And if anybody out there, if you want to explain it to me, maybe I missed something, but that is what the man said, is they needed the huddle, but still, even play with some urgency. When you're down that much, at least you got to get to the line. You need points. I don't know. This is not a Mike McDaniel video. And again, I can't say it's not. I can't say I like. I mean, I do like Mike McDaniel, but I don't understand why he's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Description of crazy. I don't understand. But this is where we are. But that is my feeling. The Tua thing is pretty much over. And whether he'll be on the team next year, I don't know. You can do that a couple of different ways. I don't think they're going to be able to trade him. Nobody's going to take on this money, especially not after the season that Tua has had. That's a joke. It is a horrible season. Even people who supported him, which I did support him. I don't think he's the most talented quarterback out there, but I did support him. I wanted to see him succeed in that aspect. But it's over. It's that you get to a point where the eye test, and the eye test is telling me after this season, you got to move on. Tua is not the guy. But that being said, we will see soon enough. I will have a video out hopefully tomorrow afternoon on the Bengals-Dolphins game, which I do think, little prelude, I think this will be a decent game for Quinn Ewers to start, because Cincinnati doesn't have a great defense. So at least we have that. But anyway, guys, make good decisions, and fins up.